Welcome to the Autistic Delicatessen.
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. The food is great.
The food makes community. The food makes community.
What you eat and what you drink is your story. And welcome to another edition of the Autistic Delicatessen. I'm your host, Larnell, along with
Onikage?
This is going to be a very intriguing conversation on this edition, huh?
I'm actually interested because we're looking into back in the vegan front again. It's good to look into alternative ways of making foods, specifically desserts this time. So as years have gone by with vegan or vegetarian foods, the better and more creative they have gotten. So yeah.
And really, in the process of us having guests who are vegan, I always feel that it's good that they always have good products still, because we never had, like, not to brag, but we never had anybody that had bad vegan products, thank goodness, So in the process of that, Oni, has there been any, I know you talked about this in the past in our podcast, but around your area, or maybe you making stuff yourself, has there been any good vegan dishes that you've appreciated, with also being a non-vegan?
The most recent one I can think of is Sorted made a vegan chicken zinger burger, and it's with chickpeas, and you fry it, and it emulates the texture of chicken. My partner emulated the recipe to give it a try, and the results were really impressive. Even before you fry the mashed chickpeas, it looks similar to a chicken breast. It's like that's chicken. That's not chicken. It's like, wow. It's just I think it's so much fun when they try and emulate cheese or meats or anything like that, even if it's not the real thing. As long as it tastes good, even if it's not always close to the real thing, it's all good, I mean, because what if you can't eat certain meats anymore, or you have a change of heart of ethical standards and things, So definitely, that's the most recent example I can think of in terms of improvements of vegan inspired dishes, especially ones that are emulating non-vegan counterparts.
Because even going back to the fried chicken, I remember in the past, like from the new vegan that was in South Florida and West Palm Beach to be exact, I had their vegan fried chicken, and when I had it, it's actually like fried cauliflower and some other stuff.
Yeah.
It doesn't even taste like cauliflower or anything like that. It tastes like actual chicken. It was like, this is actually good, because at first I was kind of nervous because I was at actually one of StarX's events, like a Soul Vegan, which was all like black owned, vegan businesses, food businesses. And Star Smith is the person who's the hungry black man. And I was kind of nervous at first with the fried chicken. I was like, I don't know if it's going to taste good. But then when I tasted it, it's like, oh my gosh, it was good. So yeah, that was my experience. So definitely enjoy this person of the vegan dishes. Today's guest is Pamela Wasabi, an author, radio host, transformational coach, entrepreneur, and founder of Pamela Wasabi Bakery. Founded in 2016, the bakery provides gluten-free vegan bakery goods. Some products include a variety of cakes, cookies, pies, and even flour mixes, and flavored plant-based drinks. Pamela also has a radio show called Nourishing the Feminine Soul on voiceamerica.com, and has written books such as Nourish the Plant-Based Path to Health and Happiness, Woman of the Moon, and Returning to the Wild Woman. So, Pamela, welcome to the Autistic Delicatessen.
Thank you. How are you?
I'm very well.
Good having you here.
Going back to how you started, before we get into your bakery, you were first in the fashion industry and then it led you to bacon. So how did that transition happen?
Actually, the career that I studied was fashion design, and I was in that industry for about 10 years. And then after being in that industry for a while, the last thing that I did was open a fashion store in an up and coming neighborhood here in Miami that now blew up. But back then, I was one of the few stores that opened in that neighborhood. It's called Wynwood. And we're talking about 10 years ago. So I opened the store And in the build out time, as I was painting the walls and everything, I discovered that I was pregnant. And so, running tests at the doctor, they realized that I had a thyroid condition. I was hyperthyroid back then, and that condition could be very detrimental for my health and my babies. So they recommended for me to take prescription medicine. And they also told me that I couldn't have a natural birth, that I had to be monitored all the time, and that I was not going to be able to breastfeed because of the amount of medicine or prescription medicine that I will be consuming. And I just didn't like that at all. For me, giving birth is a right. It's the right of an unborn child to be fed the proper way as nature intended. And that was like the biggest shock for me. That was my dynamite. That was what took me to start seeking different answers and different ways to, an alternative to what was going on. So by asking questions, I came about a friend that had studied nutrition, and she recommended the school. So I enrolled in the school, and what I did is that as I opened the store, every time that I will come home at night, like around 8 o'clock, I will just watch. It was an online school, so I will watch the program, and after that, I will go straight to the kitchen and start baking and cooking. So basically, what that school taught me is that by cooking your own ingredients, you can control your food. And when you control your food, you can control your health. And so that's how I started cooking and baking. And I taught myself everything that I know so far of cooking, or about cooking vegan, gluten-free, and obviously using wholesome and integral ingredients. So, that went on for the 9, 10 months that a pregnancy lasts. And after I gave birth and I was breastfeeding my kid, which I did for 4 years, I also have to tell you that I was able to balance my hormones during my pregnancy. So I was able to get off the medicine that they were recommended. And I just did it in a natural way. I gave birth in my house in a pool. So I had a water home birth. I breastfed for 4 years. My daughter is amazing. And so, I remember having her in my arms and having to go to the store. And I just, that didn't resonate with me anymore. Like I had become somebody else, and my interests were not any longer in fashion. Like I just didn't have anything to do with that anymore. So I decided to close my store. And I said, I just don't want to do this anymore. And as I did that, it's like something cosmical changes also. And then like a week or so after that, somebody called me and they asked me if I wanted to be their pastry chef, or if I wanted to, create desserts for them. It was a small vegan coffee shop. And that's how my food career started.
That's awesome. That's great. It's great to hear. It definitely sounds like a long journey. You were talking about fashion and then on to cooking. That could I guess that makes sense with your hashtag eat more beauty as your motto. Could you explain more on that?
So a lot of things changed after I started eating with awareness, because it's not about eating healthy. It's not about having a perfect diet. It's not about following certain protocol, or it's not about following like a bullet point list that says you can only eat these things, right? So what really awoken in me during that transition is that I started eating with awareness. So I recognized that everything that I put in my body is going to become my body. It's going to become who I am, right? And so I have a responsibility to choose my food properly, because I am feeding myself. Like we have to understand that when we eat, we're actually giving ourselves the opportunity to have a next day, to have a better life, to be healthy, to be radiant, to have the energy to do everything that we want to accomplish in this life. So my motto, eat more beauty, wants to change the rules on how we relate to food. It's very common to say, oh, you are what you eat. So I want to reframe that. I want to say, no, you eat what you are. So when you eat with awareness, you want to eat what you already think you are. So if you consider yourself beauty, if you consider yourself nature, if you consider yourself life, and if you consider yourself someone happy, someone radiant, someone that wants to embrace life and for what it is, then you're gonna seek that also, right? So it's like changing the rules a little bit, and it's eating with awareness and recognizing that being alive is the biggest gift. Being alive is everything.
I like how you changed the phrase "you are what you eat" to "you eat what you are,"
You
and
eat what you are.
I do agree with that because there's just something interesting about that, and with food and us, there's a connection, and it helps us be who we want to be. As spiritual as it sounds, I'm sure a lot of people in the audience would be like, "What?" But when you actually think about it, it takes time to digest in your brain, and you're just like it clicks, and it makes so much sense. So yeah.
Totally. You bring up the word spirituality, and there is a lot of spirituality when it comes to food. And I think that we have to ground a little bit the term of spirituality. It's not about only what you believe in and only like angels and spirits and something that is so far reached from ourselves. Like spirituality is actually having a radical sense of responsibility. That is spirituality. Spirituality is to really cultivate who you are and love yourself crazy. That for me is spirituality. So it's a responsibility to wanting to take care of yourself, of your life, and make the best out of it.
In terms of you starting your bakery, going off of that, like how did you decide to make it a business to where you sell your pies, your cakes, your cookies, and milk and all that stuff?
So this is very interesting, and I think I'm gonna bring back this fact of or what we're talking about spirituality. Surprised to see how my baked goods taste. They taste delicious, and but it's not me. It's just the purity of these ingredients that when you put them together, they just create something amazing, because they are amazing already. So it's not that I have like a secret recipe or a secret sauce, or I do something weird to the ingredients. I just really let the ingredients be, and I'm just a conductor of I'm just there as an observer, and I put things together, but the magic is it comes from the ingredients, and the ingredients come from nature, same source.
Tell us more about we mentioned a little bit, with nourishment, like about your radio show Nourishing the Feminine Soul, and how you started that and got in collaboration with voiceamerica.com on that.
So I have my third book coming up, which is called The Wild Woman, Nourishing the Feminine Soul. And this book talks about food issues and eating disorders, and how tapping onto our feminine energy, we can actually unveil the tools that we have inside to heal our soul issues. So what I'm presenting here is that food issues and eating disorders are issues of the soul that have not been taken care of growing up, and they just pile up in a way that the only resort they have for us to pay attention is to manifest themselves in a physical way. So that's why we have binge eating, we have overeating. Some people gain weight, some people lose a lot of weight, some people even lose their period. Some women stop menstruating. Then we have extreme cases as bulimia and anorexia. We also have something else called orthorexia, which is the obsession to eat in a certain way. You also have stress, anxiety, depression. And I am mentioning certain things that you might be surprised to say, wow, this is a food issue and an eating disorder. Then everyone has one. And it's true, everyone has one, because what happens is that the body has an innate wisdom. And when the body is in pain, when the soul is in pain, mind body, we have this mind body connection. When we are in pain and we're not paying attention and we're not addressing those pains, then the pain is going to find a way to manifest itself in a way where we have to pay attention. That's why we get sick. A thyroid issue, it's an eating disorder. It's a food issue and an eating disorder. Why? Because we stop paying attention to who we are. We stop speaking for ourselves. We stop having our own voice. We stop respecting what we want, our desires, our dreams, our happiness. And so, the thyroid has a way of speaking and saying, hey, you got to slow down, go with them, and pay attention to what's going on an emotional level. The book is coming out by the end of this year, and throughout the book I break the book in 3 different sections. The first section is understanding this wild woman archetype, the divine feminine attributes, the importance to understand the masculine and feminine energies within. The second aspect of the book is that I break down every food issue and eating disorder, and I pair it up with a divine feminine attribute in order to understand what's going on internally. And the third aspect of the book, I go a little bit more into philosophy. I go a little bit more into life, social issues, and purpose. And so that's the book. And then what I did with my radio show, Nourishing the Feminine Soul, which is like a leg of the book, is that I bring up guests that have also their own journey and their own practice. And they also preach or practice very similar teachings or studies as I do. And then we align, and we align with divine attribute, with a divine feminine attribute. So we talk about gratitude, we talk about sexuality, we talk about self-compassion, self-love, we talk about divine energies, we talk about understanding wholeness. And so we just discuss these attributes that we have within, these tools that we have within, in order to help us heal and understand ourselves a little bit better. And I think that the underlining point in our conversation is to realize that we have forgotten the feminine within, and the feminine really holds that nourishment that we are missing, that self-love that we are lacking in order to transform our lives and make the best out of our existence.
Where can we find you on social media about both your radio show and your bakery website, etc.?
So I think by going to my main Instagram account, which is Pamela Wasabi, from there you can choose where you want to go. My Instagram for the bakery is Pamela Wasabi _bakery. And then for the Wild Woman book, it's the Wild Woman book on Instagram. And then if you go to my website, which is pamelawasabi.com, you can also choose where to go. Either shop at the bakery, which now we can ship nationwide, or you can also just purchase the books there. My books are also on amazon.com, and so they're accessible.
Are you going to have like a way of internationally sending your products, as well as your cookies, pies, as well as your flour mixes?
So internationally, I haven't gotten that far yet, but nationally, I can ship now cheesecakes, birthday cakes, and every other type of product that I have. I finally figured out how to do it. And so, yes, if you are in California, Iowa, Chicago, wherever it is, you can now enjoy of our cheesecakes and pies. Yes, especially now for the holidays.
Pamela, thank you so much for coming on to the Autistic Delicatessen and displaying your baked goods, as well as nourishing the feminine soul for all of us.
Oh, thank you. That really touched me. Thank you so much for saying that. I appreciate how you guys, really studied my background and knew exactly what I am all about. That touched me, to be honest, that my message is getting out there and that you guys were able to tap onto that. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
No worries. It was great having you here.
Well, thanks for checking out our show of the Autistic Delicatessen. If you want to check out more of our stuff, as well as our podcast, please go on to theautisticdelicatessen.card.co. That's right there below for you to see.
If you enjoyed this content, feel free to subscribe for future episodes. Until next time.
What you eat and what you drink is your story.